Okay, let's see. Hey everyone, this is Delta Penguin. It's April 2023. I work on a lot of different side projects in general. I've done some hobbyist game making back in the day in college. I used Game Maker Studio to try creating some games. It's like a drag and drop kind of interface. GDevelop, recently I picked up GDevelop. It's a similar kind of thing. It looks like it has more flexibility and it's also cheaper, so I'm kind of experimenting with it at the moment. Um, for some reason, sound seems to be not really working all that great with it, like sound effects and music. It was like kind of choppy when I played it, and it wouldn't restart when I restarted the level. It would just kind of like start bugging out. So that's kind of odd. Um, Maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but yeah. But so GDevelop, you can check it out for free if you want. But while I'm here, I figured this is just something I'm working on as a side project. But I figured, something I want to do is kind of educate people more nowadays and try to not just build skills, but try to pass them on or try to explain them in a way that other people can pick it up more easily. And so with that, I'm making some changes to this project I have. And I figured I might as well record some of it so that other people can kind of get the gist and see some of the process, some of the magic behind the scenes. So it might look a little bit confusing, and that's just kind of, that's kind of how it is. But this will maybe give you, again, a bit more understanding, and then as you go, this will make more sense as you go. Let me see if I can zoom out a bit. Okay, so first of all, I'll just show you the game in action. So then, then the other stuff might make a bit more sense later. What I've created here is I'm just testing GDevelop right now. I created a simple tic-tac-toe game before, and now this one is a parallax background tester originally, but it's also like a platform tester. Yeah, and so I added a bunch of different levels to it. This is from an example I found. So here's some of my websites if you want to check it out. And you can also like and subscribe if you're a cool person, a cool penguin. Penguin. Here's some credits, some GDevelop stuff. But basically, yeah, there's just some royalty-free backgrounds, parallax backgrounds I got. So, okay, let me just show you some of them. So parallax background is this. So here I have a character here. Like I have the WASDs, I have the arrow keys. There's some nice stuff that I have here. If I do say so myself, it's actually pretty good. But let me see. So the camera will automatically follow you a bit, X and Y. And so some of this is to test, okay? So I have a few different levels here, stage heights in the stage. So basically you walk around, and so the parallax background means that there's like three or more different layers, in this case 4 different layers of background. And so one of them is automatically moving. The other ones, see, like this guy moves when I move, and it moves faster than the background in the back. And so it's basically layered backgrounds that move at different speed to give you the illusion that, like some things are off in the distance and some things are closer. And so I wanted to test out the parallax backgrounds just to see what they looked like. To see like for future game work kind of thing. But also like every background can be different. So here, it might be a little hard to see, sorry. But I created, so normally when you're programming, you have variables, so you can adjust the values of like the game parameters, and then you could test it. And then you could change it again, test it, change it again, test it. That's how programming and game development and testing works. You basically just have to try a bunch of things and test it a bunch of times and check out all scenarios, and that's how you eventually, come across like a good product or a good, software, a sturdy software program. So in this case, I built in some debug features into the level. So here I have it. So you have commonly in games, you can double jump or other stuff. So here my character can double jump. But if I want to, I can adjust this so that he can jump 3 times, 4 times. So let's see. And this is the camera Y offset. So I'm going to offset it a bit so you can see it more easily. So I can jump 4 times now, or 3 times now. So 1, 2, 3. And then if I try pressing space after that, it won't let me jump anymore until I hit the ground, right? That's a common platformer behavior. But, if I want to, okay, 5 jumps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it also shows you a little counter here, just so that's also nice visual feedback. So I created some stuff, and then later on I'm like, well, it's a little hard to see sometimes. So I added this guy, and this guy says, okay, when something changes, display it here also so that it's easier to see, a little larger, maybe easier to see in the background. I added this little white semi-translucent background so that you can see the text a little bit better. There's different things like the Y camera follows you right now. So if you click this button, so now it's like it doesn't follow you, so you don't get. So when I'm jumping, the camera is not going up and down too. Some people might want that instead. I have, if you press up, you won't jump, but if you enable it, then now if I press up, then I'm jumping. If I disable this, see, up doesn't allow me to jump. There's other things here like the background again. It's like one of them's on auto scroll. So if I click this button, so now that one isn't auto scrolling anymore. And then it's just like a normal parallax background. If I can make it auto scroll, I can bump up the speed of how fast it scrolls. And so there's a way to, again, to test parallax backgrounds and also find a good speed that you like so that when you create your level, okay, once you have it, then you're like, okay, now this is good, and you can just hard code the values. But in the meantime, it's like, okay, well, maybe I want to, so now I have this guy, this layer is now moving too. See, but it's moving a little bit slower than this guy. Or you could change it so, okay, now this one, that layer is moving faster. So that's kind of like the gist. So originally backgrounds, but it's also a platformer tester because you can adjust, again, the character, how many times you can jump. I changed things like, oh, how about his gravity? So now when I jump, I barely get off the ground. Or, I can make it less gravity, so now I'm floatier. Or, okay, higher gravity, and then I could do like a jump speeds, just the initial jump. So gravity's high, so I fall faster once it gets going, but the initial jump is higher. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, or like, how about movement speed? Movement speed and how fast you get up to that speed or slow down. So if I press right and I let go of the right button, see, it takes a while for me to slow down because my deceleration is low. If I set it high, then when I let go, okay, see, I'm stopping more immediately. So this is a good way to also test out platformer mechanics and find something that you like. GDevelop's nice because, see, I create a program, I can run it on the computer, and it'll also create like a mobile and website version of it, or you can export to that. So that means I can, create it once, and then I could play it on my Android phone. I've tried that, and I could also play it on the website, which is a little bit choppier, not as pretty, but at least the option's there. So this is all fine and dandy, but this started to get kind of large. And so my recent change has been like, well, I should add a hide button. So if I toggle this now, click it, then it hides it. Technically everything is still here, so you can see that if I click and drag, it is still changing things. But at least from a visual standpoint, this is, okay, you set your game settings, and then, okay, cool, now it's much easier, much nicer to see the screen. Technically, there's a virtual joystick here too. So I click and hold. See, now I'm just using the mouse and I'm moving left and right. This was originally like right over here, and this only shows up in mobile devices. There's a jump button here too. So if I click it, I'll jump. So this was originally only mobile devices, but it was here originally. And even though it's because this originally was the buttons extended down here, so it was less wide and higher. But the problem with that is it kind of hurts your thumb after a while, just even having your thumb be a little bit moved over here. So I scooched it over, put it over here. Notice this was a little too large, made a hide button. So that's this game, and that's what, yeah, that's kind of like what's up here. I guess I could show you. This is one of the older. So here's one of the older ones. Yeah, my settings are global, so they'll save as long as the window's open. So I'm still like moving faster than I normally would. The Y is not following me, so I'll click it back on. Okay, now it's following me, and now I'll stop it. So this is a cool background. I like this one. There's a bunch of like 5 different deserty layers. So kudos to you, CryptoGene. But let's see. Yes, so this is parallel again. So this is my original thing, and the mouse. Yeah, so the virtual keyboard is here. Joystick is here instead. But so what my goal is here is, this is my project, and what I want to do is I'm trying to change all my maps to be like the new format where it's wider and it has a hide button instead. I mentioned in my programming, like training class thing, a goal of good programming is that you want to make something repeat, like you want to make functions and code repeatable, reusable. Because ideally, you want something where you make it once and then you can just use it everywhere, and you don't have to keep on remaking the wheel basically. In this case, it's a bit harder because it's the GDevelop interface is supposed to be less programming heavy, and so they make it drag and drop interface for it. So that makes it nice because then you can create games even if you don't know much about programming. The problem with that is, yeah, now I have I have like 16 or something maps here, which is, that's nice that I have that many. But because I made the change afterwards, after the fact, I made them all look like this first, and then I copy pasted and made all these different levels and changed the background. But because I really tried to do the programming reusability thing, I created all this other stuff first, like the character. This is like an example character, but I set up all these variables so that I can dynamically adjust and have this sandbox that I created. I knew that I wanted this in every layer. Every layer I want a guy that can move, and I made an arbitrary number of background layers, like, okay, 5, because I think that's the average amount, maybe 2 to 5. Some of them have like 6 or 7, but I either just ignore some layers or I just make like the sun layers. I created a new layer for that, and I just kept it out of the out of the moving background layers. But yes, so the goal, so I made this map. So the map is the same in all the stages. I made it once. I created these buttons, which is nice. I did that once. So I was just working with 2 backgrounds at first. And then I said, okay, now I think this is, how I want to do it. I think this is the final version. So now I'll copy it, 14 more times, and then just change the background. So it's nice because I have all these levels, but it's painful because I decided, hey, actually, this layout isn't the best. I could have had a hide button would be so much nicer. And, my thumb hurts. So it'd be so much nicer if the joystick was a little bit further over here. And so because of that, yeah. So because of that, now I have to go through. I've been going through and trying to change every single one of these manually. So that's not fun, and that's why, that just proves the point of, hey, this is the point of programming and why you want reusability if you can. And I had some of that when I started with just 2, worked out most of the bugs out of it and got the layout to be sort of finalized, so that I could, copy paste it and make my life a lot simpler rather than trying to recreate everything from scratch. So I at least have a save point of this. But now, to get this to the new and improved layer, how do I do that? And that's what I'm going to show you a little bit of now. Okay, so my goal is to get this to look more like this. Hide button, wider, joystick moved over, etc. So let me see if I go back to Sir Wrighton's thing. Yep, the joystick's over here instead. Oh. All right, so that's what the program looks like. I'm going to save it. This is a nice little level select menu that I found in the GDevelop examples. Inside the code it said 1-UI, so I assume that's the creator. So kudos to you. Here's a shout out to you. It looks, it looks pretty. It looks nice. It makes my life easier, more convenient. So let me see. So I'm at Sir Wrighton, I think it was. Yep. So I have the levels here. I organized them to be to order them. So I click on the level here. So here's what the actual GDevelop interface looks like. Okay. Here's the backgrounds, and I have something that'll zoom it out and stretch it on the camera. This is the camera. You have different layers. So if I hide the interface layer, you can see all these guys disappear. So it's interface layer. This is the joysticks layer. It says that there, and it says it'll be right here too. So if I hide the joysticks, okay, and that's what you typically would see. So like here's the UI side of it, and here's the code or the events. So like if I check, let's see, and it looks, anytime you see something for the first time, it's going to look confusing. Especially if you don't know how to code, this also looks kind of confusing. Don't worry about it. We'll go over some of it as we go. But scene starts events. I think I did. Let me see if I can find this. I'm trying to see if I can find the joysticks section of it. Because I have some code that says if it's mobile, hide the joysticks. I don't know if there's an easy way to search through this. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so if this device doesn't have a touchscreen, then hide the joysticks layer, or if it's not a mobile device, so this means not, the little red thing. So if it's not a mobile device, then also hide it. So I have two conditions in which, this level can now work for mobile and websites, where it's like, okay, if it's not a, if it's a website, or if it's, just not a touchscreen, then hide anything that's on the joystick layer, which is these two guys. Technically, it's still there, so I can still click on it and still do stuff, which isn't necessarily ideal. The ideal might be like, okay, if it's not here, then just move it outside of the playable area, this screen here. But that's fine. It's not a huge deal, and only not everyone knows what's going behind the scenes anyway, so most people are not even going to notice it. Okay, so anyway, here's the buttons. All the interface stuff is like these buttons on and these little sliders and like this text. So right now all of this is interface. This is joysticks. This other stuff is just a standard layer. Here's the background. So let me think. Here's what I've been doing. First of all, and again, it won't make full sense, but you can just see I've done this like 10 times now for the other levels. So double click, so you can just get a gist of how this is. So I double click it. I copy the button. I'm changing the label to H instead of retry. So now I put it here. I'm going to resize it. Okay. I'm going to hold shift click so I can click multiple. Here we go, multiple items. And here's a nice way to move things. So I move these guys, and then I just move it to relatively to where I want it to be. Then I add the new item instead of to keep on re-clicking the same things. So using the arrow keys to more fine-tunedly move it here somewhere. So this is where I want it to be. I'm going to shift click this guy now, and then I'm going to change these guys from interface. Crappers. Okay, sorry. Or, oops, I made a mistake. Add a layer. Here we go. So add a new layer, and I want to call it interface 2. Because I want the hide button to hide all the buttons and knobs, but I don't want it to hide these things. I want these guys to still stay in place. Okay, so now I'm going to click all these guys. I had to reselect everything again because I forgot to create the interface layer 2. So now these are all interface 2 layers. Okay, I need to create something called a scene variable. So scene is a level in GDevelop. Again, a lot of this will go over your head, but that's okay. It's a video, so you can rewatch it if needed, or if you yourself get started, one day you'll come back and be like, oh, this is what Delta Peng was trying to tell me. But at least you have the information now. So this is a level-wide variable, a scene-wide variable. I'm calling it toggle interface variability, visibility, setting it defaultly to true. So I want it so that everything is true, so that everything is showing it first. And then when I click this button, I want it to hide it. So now I created the variable. I created the button. So now I'm going to go here to this event, copy, paste it. So it's a drag and drop interface, but interestingly, GDevelop has a bunch of like all these events are basically just running all the time. So they're running all the time unless you add a condition to it. So I have some events that, oh, interesting. That start at the beginning. Huh, curious. There's supposed to be a condition that says, hey, start at the beginning of the scene and don't do it all the time, which I assume is right. Should have been right here, but I guess we'll keep on going. But here's some things like my double jump code. It's like, hey, there's a variable that keeps track of how many jumps I've used so far. So as long as that's less than however many I'm allowed, then go ahead and do some jumping under certain conditions. So I'm kind of giving away, this is like the code, and so usually this is something you don't want to show people because otherwise people can copy it, and then you lose some of your, especially if it's like business code or other stuff, then that's more of a problem. For me, it's hobbyist stuff, albeit, it's still nice if people don't steal my code. But, yeah, it's code, but, if you want all of the code, I'm like quickly zipping through it, so I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could reverse engineer it, but that's a lot of effort, man. That's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort. Let me think. But yeah, that jump code is, yeah, well, anyway, it took a little bit of time to figure out, but I suppose it's on the video. So anyway, so here's the new button we created, and I'm going to say, hey, if I click it, I want the event to trigger if I click it. So this is, I know this event is something that's always running. There's no extra conditions on it. And so I just copied this. So if it's a click, then do these 4 things. I don't actually want these 4 things because what I want to happen is if I click the button, I want, let me think, scene. I can either do scene or I can do Boolean. Okay, it's a little hard to find. Scene, Boolean. Okay, so toggle a Boolean variable, scene variable. So get rid of this text, I type in T. So toggle interface visibility. That's that scene variable we just created. Okay. I'll do this a couple times, so I'm going fast, but you can rewatch it or whatnot. So when I click the button, it's going to change the value of the toggle interface visibility. It's a Boolean, which means it's just true or false. So if I click it and it's true, it becomes false. If I click it and it's false, it becomes true. That's basically all it's doing. Now I want to, so I double click this guy. What do I want here? Now I want something also to check. Check your scene variables. Boolean variable. Which one? I want it to be the toggle interface visibility. If it's false, I want you to do something. So now, okay. Type in layer. Okay, layer, I want to find the interface 2 layer. I want to hide it. Oh, so hiding a layer, and it's want it to be the interface one. Interface. Okay. So now let's see. And then I want to copy this guy too. Copy, paste, and instead, if it's true, oops, then I want you to show the layer. Right? Because I want to be able to hide it, and I also want to be able to reveal it again. So toggle interface visibility is true, then show it. If it's false, then hide it. So let's just preview this guy. I haven't rearranged. Let me resize this guy. Sorry. Okay, I haven't changed the way the things look yet, minus this hide button. But if it works properly, we should see all this stuff disappear, right? So let's see, hide, perfect. So I click it once, this is behind the scenes, this is false now. And the code says, hey, if it's false, hide the interface layer. And this isn't hidden anymore because I changed it to interface 2, right? That's why I had to do it, or else this would disappear as well. So I click it again, okay, it reappears. That's 100% what I want it to do. So even though it's hidden, I can still, it's technically still there, as you can see. All right, so let me see. Now I'm going to, so the code part of it's done. It's a simple code change. Actually, wait a second. How many layers am I actually using? I'm using all 5, okay. Okay, so I'm going to, now I'm going to go through this quickly because I did this like 10 times already. So, oops. So I'm going to move these guys over here. Okay, I'm going to readjust this little nice translucent thing to be about maybe right here. Okay, I gotta, and you can sort of drag and drop, but this doesn't seem to, okay, actually, does it work? I've tried it in the past and I felt like it didn't always work. Okay, actually that'll make my life easier. Okay. Okay, so now I can go move all this over. Move this little help text over. I kind of moved the button in the wrong spot. Okay. Fine tune it with the arrow keys. All right, and maybe, oops. Scooch this over a little bit. Change this, move the keyboard or the joystick here. So now this is pretty much what I wanted. So a preview. Okay, perfect. And resize, sorry. Resize so you can see it. So the joystick is not over here anymore. If I click over here, okay, it's perfect. Oops, let me think, so right, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So that's, now that map at least has the updated code and UI, or the user interface elements. Perfect. I'm gonna do it one more time so you can see it, because yeah, I still have a few more maps to go. Okay, so exit, save. Okay, Cryptogene Desert. So pretty much similar, same thing. And if you want to see it, I guess I'll just go ahead and not make the, I'll not assign these to layer 2 so that I can show you, hey, it's actually hiding it if I don't change that layer. Here, change the text of it. So part of it's just figuring out what to do, and then once you figure it out, then it's just a matter of doing it. Typically, just a matter of doing it. 'Cause some of it is, you know, design work, and then other parts, just trying to get it done. And ideally, you design it beforehand so that you don't have to repeat yourself, kind of like I'm doing. That was kind of a struggle. It's like, are the changes good enough to try to just to do it 16 times? I'm not sure, but wasn't sure. But now it's like, yeah, I might as well. All right, let's see. Show me the events. Okay. Okay. This is where I'm put the buttons. So new button. If you click it, okay. What happens if you click it? Well, let me see. Get rid of these extra events. If you click it, I want you to change the scene, toggle the scene variable. Oops, T, where is it? T, here we go. Toggle the scene variable's value. Cool. All right, well, that's fine and dandy. So now what do you want to do? If the Boolean scene variable that's called toggle interface visibility. If that's false, what do you want to do? Well, I would like to, I guess I don't have it yet, layer. Actually, no, I guess this is still valid. And I want to hide, I do want to hide the interface layer still, but it's just going to hide extra because I haven't adjusted those other elements. So I'm going to copy it. It's fine. True. And instead of hiding it, if it's true, I want you to show it. Simple enough. So true, show, false, hide, interface layer. I hooked up the button logic so that that's coded. That code is now connected to the UI stuff. So let's see. So I'll prove it. So now resize this guy. Where'd it go? Oh. Okay. So the hide button isn't even showing right now. Okay, so why is that? So it helps if you know what's going on behind the scenes. It's like we know the gist of what we're doing, right? So like, and there's an extra spot here, so we know that it's supposed to be here, but it's not showing for some reason. Actually, let's see. Why is it not showing? Okay. Let's see. Well, let me just exit out this guy. Okay, so let me take a look at it. So is there anything different between these two? And you can see, because I just created the button, so this is an interface layer. That's the existing interface. I just recently added this button. And so it starts as the base layer. The base layer is like the game layer. So actually, let me just see if I wonder if I can find it. It's 11 and 10. So it's not here. Let me just jump really high. Is it here somewhere? Okay. It's technically okay. I'm looking around a bit in the map. Whoops. Oh, sorry. You didn't get to see that. All right, I'll redo that. So I changed the jump speed. And so it's not here because it's not following the screen. The interface stuff is following the screen. The other guy isn't. So I'm thinking it's way up here somewhere. So I jumped up to try to check the top left of my map, but I'm not seeing it anywhere here. So it's maybe even further away. But anyway, yeah, so let me change this from base layer to interface layer. So the interface automatically will follow the camera, this little box that the background is in. So okay, so now it appears. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Yeah, so now it appears. So if I click it, oh, everything disappears and I don't see the back button. I don't see my health bar anymore, but it still is here technically. So, okay. So let's see if we could fix that here. And then I also want this, like the temporary text that reappears whenever a value is changed. I want that to show also. Whoops. I forgot to create the layer again. So add layer, interface 2. Okay. Interface 2. Okay, let's see, did that still work? These items were still selected. Okay, perfect. And I can prove it. Hide. Okay, cool. Now I just need to readjust this layer. Or now I need to rearrange the elements. So let me see. What I do is put that here. Put this here. It uses all 5. Drag and drop. Let's see. Nice, nice. Okay, fine tune it a little bit. Move the joystick. And this level is done. Oops, almost done. Almost done. I mean, technically I stretched this a little bit far, but minus that. Yep, I still see this guy. I can move here. Yep. All right, that's the gist. I'll put a version of this on the website link of it on the YouTube video as well, so that you can play around with it yourself if you want. I have yet to decide quite what I'm going to do with this guy. Right now it's kind of more personal use stuff. So I might put up like an older version for the public to play around with. And maybe one day I might make a Patreon or something like that. If so, I might put more of the latest code on there. Or if you know me, just let me know and I'll send you the latest. If you know me IRL in real life. But yeah, I guess that's the gist of GDevelop. And just like, the stuff that I'm testing with and trying to figure out. But either way, I feel like this is useful for me in creating the physics and the background stuff. But any other person who's interested in GDevelop too, this can be also a useful tool for them to sort of get started with the mechanics or whatever else maybe. So hopefully it's useful. And catch you guys next time.